Biblical Archaeology. 12. Archaeological finds. Empires and civilizations mentioned in the Old Testament have been confirmed. The Bible records the history of the relationship between God and the children of Abraham. Archaeology confirms many of the historical details mentioned in the Bible. In this video series, we discuss various examples. The existence of Israel's enemies, the existence of Hittites. A century ago, the Hittites were unknown outside of the Old Testament, and critics claimed that they were a figment of biblical imagination. In 1906, however, archaeologists digging east of Ankara, Turkey, discovered the ruins of Hattusis, the ancient Hittite capital at what is today called Baghaskoy, as well as its vast collection of Hittite historical records, which showed an empire flourishing in the mid-2nd millennium BC. This challenge, against the Bible, among many others, was proved worthless, a pattern that would often be repeated in the decades to come. Israel's enemies in the Hebrew Bible likewise are not contrived but solidly historical. Among the most dangerous of these were the Philistines, the people after whom Palestine itself would be named. Their earliest depiction is on the Temple of Ramesses III at Thebes, circa 1150 BC, as peoples of the sea, who invaded the delta area and later the coastal plain of Canaan. The Pentapolis, 5 cities they established, namely Ashkelon, Ashdod, Gaza, Gath, and Ekron, have all been excavated, at least in part, and some remain cities to this day. Archaeology confirms Book of Genesis on Israel's arch-nemesis, the Edomites. Study of ancient copper production sites in the deserts of Israel and Jordan indicates that the nomadic Edomites could and did form a powerful political entity more than 3,000 years ago, as the Bible suggests. The biblical kingdom of Edom was much older than scholars previously thought. In fact, it arose even before the formation of ancient Israel, just like it says in the Book of Genesis. And this in turn would mean that the Edomite kingdom was already formed by the mid-11th century BC, some 300 years earlier than previously thought. The archaeologists conclude in a paper published in the scientific journal PLOS One, Ancient Technology and Punctuated Change, detecting the emergence of the Edomite kingdom in the southern Levant. The hypothesis dovetails with the biblical statement that there were kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the children of Israel. Genesis chapter 36 verse 31. If we go by the biblical chronology, the first kings of Israel, Saul, David and Solomon, would have reigned from the late 11th century to the mid-10th century BC. So, whether it's by coincidence or not, finding that Edom was already an organized state in the middle of the 11th century BC confirms the biblical text. The Bible says the ancient Israelites had multiple dealings with the neighboring Edomites who are said to descend from Esau, the brother of the patriarch Jacob. Most prominently, they are supposed to have been conquered by David, 2 Samuel chapter 8 verse 14, and ruled by Solomon, who built a Red Sea port on the southern tip of Edomite territory, at Etzion-Geber, near what is today the town of Eilat, 1 Kings chapter 9 verse 26. Other biblical cities attested archaeologically. Biblical cities attested archaeologically. In addition to Jericho, places such as Haran, Hazor, Dan, Megiddo, Shechem, Samaria, Shiloh, Gezer, Gibeah, Beth Shemesh, Beth Shean, Beersheba, Lachish, and many other urban sites have been excavated, quite apart from such larger and obvious locations as Jerusalem or Babylon. Such geographical markers are extremely significant in demonstrating that fact, not fantasy, is intended in the Old Testament historical narratives. Numerous Phoenician and Aramaic inscriptions. These can be examined in translation, with reference to the originals, in ancient Near Eastern texts relating to the Old Testament. James B. Pritchard, Princeton University, 1969. Among the most important of these are the royal inscriptions of the Assyrian and Babylonian kings. We have inscriptions of the Assyrian kings. 1. Sargon II describing a siege of Samaria in 721. 2. Sennacherib describing a siege of Jerusalem in 701. 3. As well as inscriptions relating the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar's conquests of Jerusalem in the latter years of Judah's existence before the exile. C. Pritchard, 2nd ed., pages 563,564. Conclusion. Many historical details from the Bible have been confirmed by archaeology. And there is no biblical narrative that has been falsified by archaeology. The Bible can be trusted as a collection of historical documents. Thanks to Michael Moat for compiling this information. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.